Hello all and welcome to a new video. Now, I wanted to go over this quick flash crash that just happened. You know, we had a pretty decent dip, maybe like 5%, and it happened so fast. But a few things that I wanted to mention. So these are always going to happen. I mean, we saw one here that was even more percent if you're considering from the top down here. Obviously, it was a bit more significant here than it was here, but the whole point that I would like to tell you guys about is that is very insignificant in terms of the longer term chart. You know, look at this. This is nothing. Go back last bull run. You have these massive crashes. This is the peak, obviously, and to the bottom, 55%. So when you see Bitcoin crash, I wouldn't even call it a crash, but go down like 5, 6%, it's really not a big deal. Okay. It could go further down. Now, these are always going to happen, especially in periods of sharp uptrends like we have seen recently. And some of you may be wondering, why does that happen? Well, I'll try to explain it using funding rates because I think that's sorry, I know that's a main reason why these flash crashes happen. It's to reset the funding rates. So here I have this image. These are funding rates right here. And this is the Bitcoin chart, of course. This is the daily. So, what is a funding rate? A funding rate is how much you have to pay to long futures. Okay, so if you want to buy a leverage call, you want to use a 2x, 3x, whatever, you have to pay this amount. Okay, so it peaks there at, I'm looking here, at whatever 0.0669, and as you can see, it has a massive dip, and um, now we're actually in the negatives. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, when Bitcoin has these sharp moves up, everyone kind of wants to long. And because of that, the perpetual futures for longing get absolutely bought up. And so it becomes more expensive to take that exact same action. This creates an environment where, and some of you may not know this, if you are shorting Bitcoin, let's say here, where the funding rates are super high, you will actually be paid to short. Okay, so instead of you paying fees to hold your long position, you will actually be paying fees. Sorry, you will actually be receiving fees because you are shorting. Okay, so people with big money that can make more than a couple cents off of this, they will buy a ton of Bitcoin spot and they will short the exact same amount of Bitcoin in futures. And because of that, the spot, they're obviously not paying any fees or very, very minimal fees, depending on what brokerage they use. And with the shorting, they're actually making money. So let's say Bitcoin drops to zero and they shorted one Bitcoin and bought one Bitcoin. So they shorted one Bitcoin in perpetual futures and they longed one Bitcoin in spot. If Bitcoin drops to zero, their short makes 66,885 and 71 cents, and their long position loses that exact amount. So it's a net zero. But then you have to take into account the funding rates. They are making money on the funding rates. So they are profitable in the end. Bitcoin can go down 50%, it could go up 100%, and they will only make the funding rate. Okay, so now that funding rates have reset, that's what we call it when they go from extremely high to back to, zero. And or when I guess when they're very low, you see that a bit in the bear market, and then they also go back to zero. Um, Now arbitrage cannot happen. If it does, it will be for way less percent or way less money gained than when they're using this strategy at the peak. Okay, so once lots of arbitrage happens, the market obviously has to reset funding rates to get those arbitrage people out of the game. And eventually it will happen. They could abuse it for the time being, and they'll make money off of it. But that's one of the reasons why these crashes happen and why it's important to reset funding rates. I hope this explains some things to you guys. And I actually do want to mention one more thing is just the fact that often alts will crash a bit more than Bitcoin. So you can see here, I mean, Ethereum, that's 6.82% candle, right? Let's see this. Yeah, this was only 3.5%. So alts are almost like leverage Bitcoin. So if you are buying an alt like Ethereum, sometimes it can act like you're just longing Bitcoin with a few X leverage, you know? It would probably be like 2x, seeing this example, 6.82% compared to the 3.54. Um, it's almost exactly a 2x leverage move in this case, and it's different in every case. I mean, you could see here, this was Bitcoin pumped actually, and Ethereum actually pumped more. But yeah, just be careful with alts. I'm a huge Bitcoin guy. I love Bitcoin for the long term, so I really own like 75% of my whole account in Bitcoin. But yeah, I hope this was educational, and I hope you guys have learned something. Especially funding rates, it can be confusing when you don't know what they are and you have no one to explain it to you. So hopefully I'm that person that can explain it, and hopefully you understood. But yeah, I'll see you guys soon. I'll probably post some more videos on some more coins.